No.
Hello, my name is Xutech, and today I'll be talking to Eve online personality Mintchip. Mintchip is a member of Pandemic Legion's Northeastern SWAT, and she's also an avid video blogger on YouTube. Hello, Mintchip.
Hey,
How's it going?
it's going great. How are you?
Good, thanks. Let's see. Let's start with the beginning. Why did you start playing Eve Online?
Oh, because one of my friends actually was playing it, and they explained it to me as a very good game for griefing, and it was very much like, uh, hmm. Well, it was sci-fi, spaceships. It was a good game for griefing. It was a free-for-all game, something that I'm like passionate about.
So just to be clear, you heard griefing and you went, I've got to try this.
I was like, oh yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah, definitely. It was very different from like other MMOs. I played Asheron's Call, I played on Dark Tide, so it was very griefy, I guess what you would say. Like we would just kill people all the time. It was insane, and it was free for all game. And then WoW came out, and it was like, WoW is kind of a lame game for PvP, and kind of always has been, but I don't know. So then Eve was explained to me a long time ago as pretty much like you build ships and then you like kill each other's ships, and it sounded very lame when it was explained to me by one of my friends like a long time ago, so I never got into it. But then I had a friend later on, much closer to now, like just last year, explain it to me a lot better, to where I wish it had been explained to me before, because then I would have started playing it right away. So I downloaded it and started messing around in it, and yeah, here we are now, pretty much.
Because to be honest, when I look at some of your videos on YouTube, you seem to be a bit more wholesome than that. So you're saying that you're attracted to the game because it had antisocial elements to it is kind of surprising.
Really? Yeah, I mean, I like not necessarily being someone else in a video game, but video games are kind of like where you can do other things that are not necessarily who you are in real life. Not saying that, someone who's an asshole in game is not necessarily an asshole out of game, but I'm just saying that, it's fun to be able to, I mean, especially within the parameters of a game, if you're completely allowed to totally fuck somebody's day over, I mean, what's the problem with that? So, because, they have every opportunity to do the same thing to you, so it's like, it's kind of fair.
It's mutual. There's a mutualism to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that kind of jumps ahead to a question I was going to ask you later. Women, why aren't there more women in EVE Online?
I think that there are quite a few women. I mean, I come across them periodically. A lot of them message me or tell me like, hey, I'm a woman, I'm in the game. And I think it's just a lot of things. I think a lot of it is the genre. I mean, it's not necessarily, I don't feel it's sexist to say that this game is not geared towards women. I think it's very much in the same genre as saying an action movie or whatever isn't necessarily going to be like really popular with women, but at the same time, like a chick flick isn't necessarily going to be really popular with a man. It's just kind of like a type of game that isn't necessarily a female personality. But I think there's a lot of aspects in EVE that are sort of not shown that are very attractive for female gamers, that is just not shown well enough by either CCP or the community itself. And that's kind of like what I want to do, is like tell more females that this game is pretty cool. It might seem kind of harsh on the outside, but there are definitely parts of it that are very attractive.
So is there anything that stands out to you that you go, oh, if only they added this or changed it, you think that there would be more like a balanced population? For example, just to be clear, Incarn is coming out, and that's got, pretty dresses and haircuts and things like that. And obviously there's this expectation that women are going to see that and go, oh, I must try this game and make a lovely character. Do you think that's really the kind of thing that works?
Not particularly. I think what is sort of different, but also intrinsically the same within humans, is that we like to feel connected to what we're playing. In Eve, you're a spaceship. It's sort of impersonal. I think women are sometimes more personal. So it's not necessarily, oh, we get to create this character that has a dress or shoes or something. It's more of like, oh, I get to put more of a personality to this. I can be more connected to this character that I'm playing. I feel more of a connection with this. I feel more, I don't want to say obligated to play, but you just have this more drive to play this person because you feel more immersed, I guess I would say. And I think that that's something that, women just in general connect better when it's more personal.
But perhaps you mean identification.
Mm-hmm.
For example, even if you're playing like an undead warrior, you still got that, it's a human, it's human shaped, it's got arms and legs, and you've got control over it. You can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, and then when you're interacting with other people, it's like you're interacting with other life form sort of things, and it's easier, I think, in that sense. But, I'm not saying that people or women in general can't transcend that in terms of, knowing that their pilot inside their ship is a little person, but I think it does kind of detach a little bit. And I think that with Incarna that might help, but, I don't think that that's going to be like the defining factor of getting more women. Just because there's pretty things doesn't mean that women want that. I think that's the other thing is that there's so much more community and social impact in Eve that I think that a lot of women would really enjoy the dynamic of it.
Because I've met some pretty ruthless women play in different games, and it's interesting to think that perhaps that if they just got over that initial trepidation over playing the game, they'd really get into it.
Exactly.
Did you have a little of that when you started playing, that you kind of had an initial doubt that maybe you'd spent your $15 the wrong way or whatever?
Oh, definitely. I felt the Eve makes this promise, right, that you can do anything you want in this game. And that was something that I wanted to test. I wanted to be like, can I do anything that I want in this game? Like, can I basically just dick around, see where it goes? There's no set path. And I know it sounds really cliche, but it's kind of true. Like, I'm just kind of like floating through, just doing whatever I'd like. And I've never had more fun. I mean, in World of Warcraft, you are scripted. It's very, what you're going to do. What next week is about. What the next week after that is. What's going to happen when there's an expansion, when there's a patch. It's not new or different, and it tries to tell you it is, but it's not. And that's something that I felt was very different with Eve, because you really don't know what's going to happen next week. I mean, you can kind of predict it or whatever, but it's not nearly as predictable as other MMOs.
And have you felt that personally engaging with other players has been, for example, if you play WoW, there's a lot of mechanical advancement. If you don't get on very well with people, if you really make a mess of it, you can leave and go to another server. But with Eve, if you make a mess of your relationships with other people, you're really stuck in the game. Have you ever felt that there's a benefit to the fact that you can communicate with other people instead of having to rely on mechanics?
Oh, yeah, like in WoW where you can just, do something shitty and then move on. That's something that you wish had more impact on the game. And in Eve, it does have an impact. Like everything that you do, whether you're, someone who's very trustworthy or someone who's not trustworthy at all, like those kind of things follow you. And so it becomes more real. It's almost more realistic to how the real world is and how you're your own person. And I think that that's something that everyone can kind of relate to. I love having it being one universe, where everyone is on the same thing. Not just because of personalities that do different things in the game, but also because everybody can play. Everyone. If someone knows this other person, it's like you know them too, that the things that they do impact you as well. It's not like, oh, somebody on this other server did this, and it's like, okay, I don't give a shit. Like, what does that fucking mean? you know?
Conversely, your enemies can transfer as well. If you join a group, you take on this whole set of relatives and enemies, kind of inherited enemies that normally in a game you wouldn't feel that animosity towards them, but because of the strong polarization of the different groups.
Oh, definitely. I mean, World of Warcraft had a thing for a while before they did cross-realm, before they gave flying mounts, before they pretty much killed their own game. I mean, they had a little bit of that. And when I say a little, I'm being very liberal. They had a little bit of that where you'd have this sort of animosity between people on the other faction or even people within your own faction, but in EVE it's like completely different.
So that segues nicely onto the beginning of my interview, which was talking about the group that you're with. Now, can you tell me a little about Northeastern SWAT and Pandemic Legion?
Well, I joined up with them. I have a few friends that are in the Alliance, and I like them. They're really fascinating people. They're interesting. I get a lot of people who mail me just in general, and they'll talk about how, I hate Pandemic Legion, and I can't really, I understand, like, why, but at the same time, it's like, for me, it's like, I don't really identify with that. Like, I know I adore Pandemic Legion. I would do anything for them in that sort of sense, but at the same time, it's like, I can't really say that anyone should hate me because I'm in Pandemic Legion, but I understand that they do sometimes. But I think it's hard for people to do it as well. Like, they'll be like, I hate Pandemic Legion, but I'm still talking to you. I'm sorry, or whatever. So it's funny to me, but I don't know. I like it that they're hated, though. It's a nice place to be.
Perhaps because you're in a kind of a observational role.
Definitely.
You're slightly a little bit outside of the whole the normal how would you put it, advancement through the group from an outsider to an insider.
Yeah. Like I'm like an honorary member, sort of I don't even know why I'm there. To be honest, I'm surprised they haven't kicked me. But they
haven't.
How
did that happen?
How did I get into Pandemic Legion?
Yeah. Tell us your secret.
I was actually just invited. I was invited by Centra Spike originally was talking to me about joining so that I would like talk about Pandemic Legion or something. I don't even know. It was just, I thought they were trolling me. So I was kind of like, why would I want to join you guys? You guys fucking suck or something. I was just being a bitch, just joking around with them. And come to find out that they were kind of being serious. So I was like, okay, yeah. And I had a friend, Alandar, who's in the Pandemic Legion as well. And I was just like, yeah, I don't really have anywhere to be. And I was in another alliance at the time that was just spamming my inbox with like crazy stuff all the time. They had so much drama. And I was just like, yeah, I don't really mind like where I'm at, to be honest, because the stuff that I'm doing, I play with people, I go roam or I just chit chat or do random things. Like it would be kind of cool to go on like ops with them or something. So I did a couple ops with them before and after I had joined, but they pretty much just invited me and I just sat there and said hello to people and yeah, I've been in there for like almost 5 months now, so it's been fun.
So do you feel like you belong yet?
Yeah, I feel like I belong in the sense that I don't belong. So I might as well belong. I don't know.
Was there a certain point or a time when you logged on and you suddenly went, yeah, I'm in. It's cool, good.
I don't know. I just couldn't imagine being anywhere else. I guess that's how I'd put it. Like there is no other place.
So why do you log on?
You mean?
Now, well, we've talked about your, you friends with people, but on the day-to-day basis, when you go to log in, what makes you want to keep playing the game?
The people, everyone that I talked to, just learning about the stuff that had been happening while I was maybe logged off, or training my skills. I'm really fascinated with like all the ships and that, and I've been just kind of like fiddling around. I mean, a lot of people try to like teach me stuff, they try to tell me stuff, and I've been trying hard to just kind of like learn things on my own. I don't know why. I guess to just try to get better at the game. But for the most part, it's like I log in, I like to talk to people. I might do some things with people, but mostly it's just to observe, see how things are going.
So, are you okay if I mention the thing that you're studying at the moment?
Sure.
No, you're studying chemistry, I take it.
Yes. I study
So
chemistry.
that's obviously quite a complex technical interest for you. Does that kind of cross over to looking at playing the game? Because it's also a very complex game.
Um,
Or do you try to play it? Do you try to just have fun and relax?
I definitely play Eve to have fun and relax. For me, chemistry or all of my school stuff is something that I get into a mode with. I
Mm.
can't really yeah, I don't have fun with chemistry at all. I get into a
So I
very
suppose you
analytical
wouldn't want it to
mode.
cross over, like the whole work and then relax at home.
Yeah, definitely not. Working on problems or or doing labs and things like that are uh, definitely. I just get into a different mode, a completely different mode. I get very analytical. I kind of shut down. I'm very socially awkward, to be perfectly honest, when I'm like in school. I have a very hard time, like, if I'm working on something, I have a very hard time, like, being, speaking with people or explaining anything that I'm doing. It's very much like just in my mind and I'm working everything out. It's kind of it's like I'm two different people, to be perfectly honest.
That seems to be a common theme with many of the people I talk to, that they say that they can, I can talk to some really quite powerful, pivotal people in the game, and yet at the same time they say, yeah, but on the other hand, when I walk around I'm really quite shy. But they're obviously quite a different person in the game.
Oh, definitely. I, I I could totally relate to people that are like that. Like I'm very shy in real life. In game or just on YouTube or just chatting with people, it's a lot easier. But mostly I try to keep to myself. I mean, most people who do know me inside the game and out know that I'm pretty calm in the sense that I don't really need to be talking to them all the time. I don't really talk to anyone unless I have, really something to say. Otherwise, it's kind of like I find it a waste of time.
So what's an annoying or tedious part of the game to you?
Uh, well, I think at first for me, what was tedious was I felt very useless. I felt like I couldn't really do anything. Like I was literally just waiting for skills to complete or for things to happen so that I could actually be useful or do things well. And I thought that
Mm.
that, initially kind of was bad, but I can actually see now, like it's nice because everything that you do earn or do, um, has much more of a sense of accomplishment, I guess, even though it's not really an accomplishment, but it still feels good. It feels a lot better, I guess, I would say.
Now, being a member of Pandemic Legion, there's obviously also the forums, and they play other games as well and talk about other things. Do you think that's part that's one of the vital ingredients to making a strong group?
Oh, definitely. I mean, any group would do well if people get along, if they're friendly, if they're able to like do things outside a game together, if they can have conversations that don't revolve around the game as well. I mean, you have that bonds will form and that makes it easier to really know your fellow members. And I think any not just Pandemic Legion, but any alliance or any corporation would have that
Mm.
would be able to be together well with that, I think.
Now, when you think about the game, sometimes CCP comes under quite a lot of criticism for changes it might make to the game. But do you think that they are making an effort to improve it?
I do. I do. I think that some of the recent changes were, really great. I wish that other games did that sort of thing. Like, for example, the jump bridges thing I think it's going to be really good. I know a lot of people are
Yeah?
bitching about it, but I
Does
think
this
it's
bring
going
out
to,
a lot of strong emotions in people?
yeah, it does. I mean, obviously I haven't been playing the game for very long, so I mean, I don't have that, you know, I don't have such an opinion that is so well formed that I could defend it to my death or whatever. But I think that sort of change, like where I hear about it, how it's going to really kind of help, being able to see people like moving around and stuff like that would really help in that sense as well. So I don't know. I think it's a really good change. And I think that a change in general, whether they're going to see if it's like good or not, is, a step in the right direction at least.
Have you noticed any kind of negative changes they've made to the game?
Not
Bad
that any,
decisions?
not any that I think have affected me, but I'm sure that there have been some. I don't know. I think they should just get rid of high sec.
So, okay, well, what would you do instead?
I don't know, just have it all free for all. We could just kill everybody everywhere. But I mean, I guess that wouldn't be. I don't know. That's just me talking about Asheron's Call. Like the Asheron's Call, like even the safe zones weren't very safe. So, but I mean, I guess Eve has like low sec, but that's not necessarily safe.
It seems that the idea is that you start off in the lovely, with your lovely new account, and you learn how to play the game, and you're supposed to slowly graduate down the line to the more dangerous areas, and then eventually into the PvP and all the rest of it. But that's never really happened for a lot of people, because they instead of looking at it as a slow graduation to the real game, it's a barricade for them.
Right.
But how do you balance that with making stopping people from ending their account in the first month because they keep logging on and they keep losing ships?
Yeah, that's true. I guess
How did they do that in Asheron's Call?
You didn't. When you died, you became a white dot for 5 minutes, so you were able to continue to level for 5 minutes until somebody could kill you, and then you would go back to your body, and then you would be killed again, and then you'd be a white dot for 5 minutes. So some people had to level up just as a white dot for 5, and by white dot I mean like people couldn't kill you for 5 minutes. So you pretty much just died constantly over and over again, and that's how we kept Care Bears off our server. It was if you could actually survive and level up with us killing you over and over again, you had the mentality to be on the server, and if you couldn't, well, go back to your PvE server noob, pretty much.
Now, looking at metagaming, obviously metagaming is knowledge or activities outside of the game that affect the game. Mm-hmm. For example, looking up information or missions or game mechanics, or then you get into the whole realm of spying and other activities like that. That's a very strong part of EVE Online. Do you think that's good or bad?
I think it's great. I think it's something that is very fascinating to me. I'm still very new, but I think that was one of the things that really drew me to the game, was that there was so much outside of the game that people did in order to kind of do well within the game, and I like it. I think it's really cool. I love the concept of spies. It's neat.
The thing though is that when you talk about the other games you've played, with those ones, even though you might have very strong PvP element, when you turn the game off, the game ends. You don't always have that with EVE, do you?
No, definitely not. But I mean, yeah, I guess I would say you're right. EVE does continue a lot more than another game when you turn the game off. But I would say that there are other games where once you turn them off, the shit still goes on and you come back and everything sucks. But, likewise with EVE.
Have you, as an observer and an outsider, have you been surprised by the complexity of the different systems that people have put into place? For example, as you've said, you're a member of Pandemic Legion. Even just joining their forums and other services. There's quite a complex security system in place. Is that surprising to you?
No, when I first started the game, I was told, to not trust anybody, and I was told all about how you could get scammed and, dicked over and all sorts of shit. So even like a regular trade, which I realize now is pretty safe, I was kind of like, oh god, I'm scared kind of thing. So I could understand, like, none of that really surprised me because I felt like I was kind of expecting it. I just didn't know the degree of it. And so anything, even if it, I guess, might seem like um, extreme. It really wasn't to me at the time. But I mean, I can understand now. Like, I'll tell people like, oh, you have to do all this to be able to get into Pandemic Legion. And they're like, fuck that or whatever. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh.
It must be quite difficult to explain to outsiders.
Yeah.
I think one person once said that the forum site had to maintain a level of security similar to that of a small bank.
How so?
Well, you know, with your protecting your forums from vulnerabilities and your services like Mumble and Jabber and so on. People doing dedicated denial of service attacks on servers when you're trying to do something. For example, your communication services.
I see.
Yeah, it's quite surprising. So, is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we wrap up?
Oh. I don't know. Is this on the record right now? Because I could just talk to you off record really quick, or no?
No, well, for example, do you have any reactions to the criticisms you receive from posters?
Oh.
Yeah, not all of them have been very nice, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, I get a lot of people. I wouldn't say a lot. I get some people who don't like what I do, or they think that I'm exploiting, that I'm a female, or that, you know, everything that I'm doing is somehow, you know, destroying their world in some way. I don't know. But I mean, like, what can I do? What can I say to that? There's nothing I can do. I mean, it just seems, it's silly.
It's a little demeaning too, isn't it? Because it can't be that simple, could it?
How do you mean?
Well, if it were just that you were abusing your feminine powers to receive benefits far beyond your right to claim,
Right.
Wouldn't there be a lot of people doing that?
Yeah, or like, just the fact that why would well, I guess when I say like, why would anybody do that? I mean, I guess there's probably people who would do that, but, you know, honestly, if I wanted to do something that was getting things, I'd do that in like real life to actually get something that was tangible rather than, you know, notoriety in a video game. I mean, I play because I like it, and I make videos because it's fun. I mean, I've always said that. I just do it because I like it. If people watch or if I get attention from it, like, that's awesome. But I mean, I'm not like feeding off of it.
Yeah, I for one would like to reassure the listeners that I don't do these interviews to make myself, you know, feel good or feel get some kind of tangible benefit from them. I just provide a service without any thought to the rewards that come from it.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably kind of fun for you. I mean, you get to like just, you know, you get to talk to people, ask them questions, see what they have to say. I mean, it's a similar thing for me. It's like I get to make a video talking about parts of the game or even just mostly, I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's a lot of fun to do the research. It's a lot of fun to like set everything up, to see if I could do it, you know, just to see like how it goes. And it's fun. You know, it's like a hobby, I guess I would say. And you know, it's about something that I'm actually like getting into, like playing Eve. Video games in general have been a passion for me. So I mean, I don't know. And if, you know, I get a lot of people, girls, guys, anybody who just, you know, says, oh, they don't like me. And that's perfectly fine. Like, you do not have to like me. No one has to like me. I don't need anyone to like me. But, you know, I hope that they can just move on from that, because I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to hurt anybody.
Let's look at it the other way. Is there anything that your fans or people that can support you, is there anything they could do for you?
How do you mean?
Well, perhaps you need more help with intel. You'd like people to send you intel, or you need more ISK, or how can they help you?
I don't need any ISK, that's for sure. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I talk to a lot of people, a lot of my, I guess you would say fans, or just people who see what I'm doing and they like it. They're like, this is cool. Like, I'd love to help you. You know, they'll talk to me and stuff, and I try to talk to people, and, you know, I try to like ask like, oh, you know, what happened, or what does this mean? And anytime I talk to somebody who tells me about stuff that happens, it's like I feel like it's never enough information. Like I'm always like, well, why is this happening? And what does that mean? And so who's this person? And why is this person important? And tell me more, tell me more. And to the point where they're kind of like sick of me. They're like, I don't know. It's just whatever. Like leave me alone. And I'm just like, ah. But I mean, because there really is no end to the information that is out there. And I feel like I don't know, it's fun to put it all, I mean, I'm trying to make it better. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you suck. And I'm like, oh, I know. I do suck. Fuck. I gotta like fix this. Like, I'm trying to make it better. If that makes sense.
Do you have any plans in the near future for interesting things that you're planning to do?
Yeah, I mean, I want to do more of the Eve News stuff. I want to do more in-depth things on changes within the game. I'm hoping that, through this I'll be able to talk to more interesting people, and get more insight on things so that they can tell me stuff and I can tell it to other people. But, yeah, I want to do an interview. I'll probably interview you maybe. I don't know. And, just anything. I mean, it's like, there's no boundaries. If I stop liking it, I'll fucking stop. Like, who knows?
Well, you'll just have other games to talk about.
Exactly.
So, just for the listeners, there you have it. If you would like to criticize Mintchip, she's willing to do better, and the onus is on you to help her to get better.
Yes, help me. I need help.
Okay. Thanks once again for talking to me on behalf of the Kagutsuman forums, and I hope and expect that we'll be talking again in the future.
For sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.